Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 481. Hope y'all are having a good day out there. This one here is going to be a Quinn start, and so there is the Yumi out here for the new cards. I'm kind of curious how things would play out if we take a Yumi here and then we try to draft Fae. There is this Yumi Pets and Pecs archetype, which is pairing off with Pantheon and trying to do the hey boost my Pantheon kind of thing. But it's like looking at these units here, they are both Fey and they are both extremely strong with the Gleaming Lantern letting you cheat on mana. And then the assistant librarian being both a Fey and a fated unit. I think there could be something kind of interesting there, to whereas the Fey deck, it's not really a thing and constructed, but if we could take like the Pets and Pecs and then whatever the other Fey archetype is called, have that one turn up as well, we might actually be able to get a pretty interesting deck going here. But I feel like we've drafted Yumi already. I want to go with something else. I know we've most definitely drafted Quinn before, but I'd like to just spread out on the champions a little bit. We may never get another opportunity to draft Quinn, and this is a pretty good start. That's how I felt about this Callista over here. I wanted to come out and draft Callista. She's had a storied history in Expedition, just being one of the ultra powerhouse champions for a long time. And this is where we actually saw a lot of micromanagement of the archetypes back when Riot used to do that in terms of trying to make Callista not just an absolute monster. They took the Mist Wraiths out of her archetype, and then once the intern got a hold of this, they really came in and just butchered both of the Callista archetypes. They said, "Nah, girl, you're not going to be on tier 1 anymore. You're going down to the dregs of the tier lists." And so I would like to get a Callista draft in before Expedition goes away. But starting off with a fresh offerings and an Iron Harbinger is just a recipe for failure. And so, on the other hand, this Quinn is a fantastically powerful start between the Vanguard Sergeant and the Screeching Dragon. This is one of these starts to where if we don't draft around Quinn, or if we just don't take any more Demacia cards the rest of the way, we're going to be ultra happy to have both Vanguard Sergeant and Screeching Dragon in our deck. And so a pretty powerful start here. I will get this pulled up on the site. We'll talk about it a little bit more. I do want to at least touch on these older archetypes on the site. It makes it a little bit easier to visualize what's happening there. And so we are over here at ftpbus.com. We're just on the front page in the Expedition Helper. We'll make our way down to Quinn and the Relentless. And so, yeah, Quinn, she pairs off with Katarina, and it's meant to be a deck that takes advantage out of attacking multiple times. You typically see this Quinn paired off with the Scouts, right? There's a bunch of Scouts in Demacia, a bunch of Scouts in Bilgewater, and then that is your kind of common way to come out and attack multiple times in the same turn. But the idea here with Katarina out of Noxus is that you're going to use Katarina, you're going to use things like Shunpo, going to use things like, I believe he's Ruined Reckoner, the 4/3 for 4 that lets a unit attack an extra time in the turn, and those will be the kind of ways that you're looking to get your multiple attacks. And so that is kind of thing number one. The kind of overarching strategy in here for the history of time has been, how do I take advantage of these attacks? It's not so much just attacking a bunch of times to flip a Quinn. It's how do you take advantage of these attacks? And that's typically where you're going to see a handful of things. There is Legion Drummer here to spread out supports. And so the idea there is, say you make a quick attack support, your units don't die because they have quick attack. You get a rally in, and then you can support a different unit. That's been the original idea with this deck. It's a little tough to pull off. I figure if you're getting those kind of attacks in, you've already just won the game anyways. But that is an idea here. The quick attack challengers are always strong. There's also a lot of the Legion Marauders out of the Noxus side. The Legion Marauder itself, I don't believe, lives there, but the Strength in Numbers does. And so those are the kind of things. But mainly here, what we'll be looking to take advantage of is for Demacia. We don't want to play the actual card for Demacia. We want to play Vanguard Sergeants and have those generate for Demacias, because just the spell on its own is pretty good. I should say the Sergeant on its own is pretty good. Casting the spell is pretty good just playing, a standard game of Runeterra and clogging up the board. Our board will get bigger than our opponents and we'll just crush the game. But then the cards like For Demacia play fantastically with scouts. And so if we're getting double attacks out of our scout units with +3/+3, it should be enough to just come out and win the game. And so, again, the big things we'll look to take advantage of. Again, we may not even draft around Quinn or Demacia, but we'll want to take advantage of attacking multiple times in the same turn. And so let's see what the next pack brings up. Something awesome, I assure you. And it's a pretty reasonable collection of cards. The most powerful thing you could probably come out here and do with this is just take the Garen. Switching into Demacian Steel is extremely strong. We could go for the Darius here. I think this is the weakest of the three, as we're not really trying to get the Noxus cards out of here. There are some things to go for, but Legion Marauders are just too tough to pull off at this point. They were too good for Expedition, and they did spread them around a little greedily. People were getting too many Marauders, and so they kind of cut them back a bit. But this Darius Blood on the Ice, not what we're really going to be looking to do. And then down here with this Rumble. Rumble is extremely powerful, but he does need some card generation for him to work. And so the problem with drafting the Rumble here is we're not going to be able to find too much of it. Like coming out of Bandle City, you can find a handful of things. Yordle Squire is always there. You can look to find things like Conchologist, but like Demacia is certainly not helping. And we're counting on just a handful of cards there. We really want to be paired in with Noxus with this Rumble and chase after the Reforges. And so a little bit of back and forth on what to go with here. I think I'm just going to go with the Demacian Steel Garen. The Rumble should just be a little bit too tough to pull off, and I think there's just going to be plenty of synergies across these two archetypes. I mean, we've already started with a Vanguard Sergeant coming into the Demacian Steel. So we can get this one pulled up as well. We're most certainly going to switch into being an Elites archetype. It's just one of the real powerhouse things you can do in this format. And there's a couple of things to take note of with the Elites. As far as draft strategy goes, we're going to try and get the Challengers archetype to turn up. That is the Challenger Jarvan archetype. Lots of cards in there that are just extremely powerful in Elites, and there's just a lot of overlap between them. And so Battlesmith lives in both archetypes, Honored Lord lives in both archetypes, Penitent Squire lives in both archetypes. Those are going to be some of the kind of premier cards we're looking for, because the big thing you have to battle with Elites is your curve getting out of line. Like, so if we take a peek back at our start here, we have 3 5-drops, right? Quinn, Screeching Dragon, Garen. We have 4 5-drops since we add in Vanguard Cavalry. Then we have a 6th cost spell that we don't really want. And so the Elites play very similarly to the Dragons in the terms of we really go out of our way to pick up these early plays, and then we'll just let the expensive cards fall to us. And then if we ever get into the space to where we don't have enough expensive stuff, we can just draft more Garens, or we can probably pick up Jarvans, whatever. But there's just not enough difference between Garen and whatever, I call him heavy infantry. He's that expensive one that we just picked up in our hand. Vanguard Cavalry, the Screeching Dragon, they're all essentially the same card. And so we don't look for top end, we look for cheap stuff. So we place a heavy focus on Cytheria, Honored Lord, Penitent Squire, Succession's a big one, and then the likes of Vanguard Defender. We'll see what happens in terms of Vanguard Lookout, right? We typically X him off, but I'm curious the amount of formidable stuff that'll roll through here. I don't really want to chase after that today, but that could be a thing. But yeah, those are the big ones. Radiant Strike is our preferred combat trick. We tend to spend all of our mana on units from turn 2 forward, so it's nice to have the 1 mana trick. And then we look for the unit boosters as our big kind of build-around strategy. So we'll be looking for Battlesmith, Vanguard Bannerman is the big one, and then reinforcements as well. So we'll take this Garen dive on in. So let's see what we can get with these. all the Vanguard Lookouts making an appearance. This is going to be fine. We're getting these two drops out of the Demacian Steel pack, and hopefully this will get Demacian Steel to continue to show up. I wouldn't be opposed to picking up a Ranger's Resolve, but Greathorn Companion doesn't really help us where we're struggling, right? This is a very expensive unit in a deck that already has a bunch of extensive units. All right, on to the next one. A fairly easy succession with the Swiftwing Lancer. We do get, stuck with some expensive stuff, but succession is a premier early play. Like if we don't play anything on the first turn, we can play succession on 2, jump into Vanguard Sergeant on 3, and then very likely just have a bigger board than whatever our opponents put forth. Okay, coming out of this one, from the playable cards here, right? We're not going to jump into another faction. The Vanguard Redeemer is the best. I'm not the hugest fan of Vanguard Squire, but it could be okay. I think I am just going to take the actual elites here. I'm really drawn to the Radiant Strike, but we're probably not going to get too much usage out of War Chefs in this deck. So maybe we actually do get to pop off on this Vanguard Squire. We have a ton of early play, or a ton of elites in our deck up to this point. Coming out of here, love seeing Challenger turn up in the wild picks. Ideally and hopefully, by taking this Challenger pack here, the thing will see that we have Cataclysm, Golden Aegis, and then our synergy picks will now be Relentless, Demacian Steel, and then Challenger. Because again, the Penitent Squire, the Honored Lords live in both of the Demacian Steel and the Challenger archetypes, kind of doubles up our ability to find both of those units. Boom, it's happened. And so, not a really high quality set of cards. I am going to go with the Swiftwing Flight out of this one. It's on the cheaper side of things, sort of. It's at least cost 4 mana instead of 5, but it has a lot of value built into it, just being a playability to generate extra cards. And then the attack bonus can be extremely relevant in boosting your challengers. And then as far as this goes, I'm okay with 1 Confront. It's not a card I'm a big fan of. It's a card you certainly don't want 2 and 3 copies of. But at the end of the day, we need something to interact with our opponents with, and this gives us a little bit of a way to do that. Oh man, look at this, the Durand Protege. It's actually kind of interesting here in terms of being able to boost a challenger. I think this is where we're going to go. I'm really curious how the Mentor's archetype has kind of split out now, right? This was an archetype that I was really upset that they released. It was basically the Fiora half of Poppy Fiora, and it had like Silverwing Vanguard and Vanguard Lookouts as the commons, and then I think that also had like single combat, and then that was it. And it was kind of there to be a Poppy build around and support Poppy, and now it looks like this is where they've added the Formidables, which makes a bit of sense, but I really wish that they would have been able to just wait to release that with Poppy, or release Poppy as a single champion archetype, and then add this stuff in later when they try to get more Formidables out there. But they're just completely taking the game away. So how much room do we really have to complain here? Okay, so what do we want to do with this one? The premier unit does live here in Honored Lord, but this is a really premier set of cards in the Radiant Strike and the Succession. I'm going to go with the cheaper plays here. I don't want multiple confronts. We don't have any Umbrella Makers or Tattered Bannerman, whatever that guy's called at this point, and so the Honored Lord isn't like spectacular, and I don't think this is going to affect our ability to keep seeing Challenger turn up. So I'm happy enough with the Succession. Okay, though, here we go. This is how you get the challenging done, right? The Grand Plaza and the Penitent Squire. Looks pretty good to me. As we see some of this expensive stuff, we probably should stop and take stock of our expensive cards, and we're fine, right? We already took a bunch of expensive stuff. If we sound like a Cytherea, or if we find a Genvivi or a Tiana, then we'll certainly come out and take it. But things at this point like Cadrigen and Screeching Dragon, we don't need. Okay, I wouldn't be opposed. We can throw Captain Erika in the mix there, but with this one, I'm going to go with the Brightsteel Protector Relentless Pursuit. These rallies are extremely powerful. One of the kind of core problems we run into with the Elites deck is we'll get this really big board. Our dudes will have tons of stats, but we can't actually deal damage to our opponent because they're playing Bandle City and just blocking over and over and over again, and then they can still do their thing and maybe get kills with some elusive units or something. And so it is pretty nice to have these rallies so that you attack, clear out your opponent's board, you say "F you, buddy," and then you come in for the big lethal. We don't usually look for 2 of them though. Usually only look for 1, but I think it's okay here. Our spell count is pretty low at this point. All right, coming in here, here's the Honored Lord. Hopefully we can trade away some of these expensive 5s, but I don't think we need to come out and take Captain Erika. I'm not opposed to it. Maybe we should pick up one copy, right? We don't have any removal at this point. We usually get a concerted strike, but I mean, at this point, we only have challenges. We haven't seen a concerted strike, a single combat, a dragon single combat. Haven't seen a slow Galio strike, whatever that new one is called. So maybe we should pick up the Captain Erika just to be a little safer in terms of our top end, or in terms of our removal. And then we immediately get another expensive in Cythria. I want the Battlesmith, but I'm not going to pass on Cythria. She's epic. We're probably never going to see another one. Okay, and here with the Vanguard Sergeant Radiant Strike looks pretty good. Both of these cards are premier. We have 2 Successions. I'm not opposed to Succession, but I think we'll go with this set down here at the end. And now we get to pick up an Honored Lord. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so you all do know what time it is. We have to pay the pay-to-win price, go and turn something premium. Let's take a peek at what looks out here. I don't know why I'm even pulling up the commons, because they're all just going to be accounted for. But let's take a look real quick. Oh, no, the Durand Sculptor. No, that's not we've got the Protege. Okay. There you go. I forgot that they just printed new cards and stuff, and we are in one of the new card factions, representing the Formidables out here in the Durand Protege. Welcome to our squad, and I thank you. So, good stuff. Let's go out here and get to battle. And so this has come together nicely. Our curve, it's a bit of a mess, but I think it's okay at this point. We may find ourselves in a game or two to where you run into the spot to where it's like turn 6, you have like 5-6 drops in your hand, and you just can't play enough of your hand quick enough. But our early curve looks decent enough to where that shouldn't be too big of an issue. And here, this is actually a fairly premier start. We'll have to see how this game lines up, but we can just bank mana for the first 2 turns, play the Grand Plaza on 3, and then follow up with Succession. And so if our opponent starts adding dudes that we perhaps want to interact with, this is a very powerful thing that we can go for. Now that he's out here playing Kennons and stuff, I'm not going to play it that slow. Right? We really want to come out and interact with this, and the Succession just gives us the pure shutdown on his board. We can wait till turn 5 in Grand Plaza, or maybe we play the Grand Plaza on turn 4 and then follow up with like Honored Lord, Durand Protege on turn 5. We're looking pretty okay here. Just tons and tons of virtual card advantage. Feels good. Yep. Virtual card advantage was a concept from Magic. There's all kinds of card advantage. People don't really talk about it. I think it was probably Mike Flores that really lined it all out for everyone. If you go back to go back to like 1999 and search for the dojo, but the kind of idea with virtual card advantage was our opponent has the two attack units on the board. We play Dauntless Vanguard. This Dauntless Vanguard essentially 2-for-1s our opponent here, right? Because they have 2 cards that they can't play. And that was a pretty top-notch prank from opponent. That shit's fucking annoying. But I think we're still in a pretty okay space here. He nailed our Honored Lord out of this. And oh, wow. Wow. Brutal. I'm assuming that he just picked up the +3 damage one. So I'm just going to go ahead and attack. Take the trade while we can. That's fine. Not sure what else he would take with the prank, or with the Gifts from Beyond, whatever that thing's called. Oh, wow. I assume that he was probably just going to open on us anyways, but it's pretty unfortunate that he also just boomed our Silverwing Vanguard. We can still get good usage out of it next turn. It gets +1 from the Grand Plaza and can pop both of his smaller units, but this dude's certainly hitting today. Most certainly hitting with the pranks. And then even at that, it still may not be enough. We're about to boom real hard in here. So we could Yeah, let's protect one of our birds. Like, it's not like super compelling since they can't block, but we can at least put like a bird in front of Gust Monk and have it survive. Get a re-challenge 2 turns from now. Sure. He was scared. He was scared of our bird. Nope, not you. I want Kennen. Alright, so we're in a pretty good space. He can open on us again, which hurts a little bit, but we have 2 blockers. Yeah, I was going to say, our board is pretty meaty at this point. So, good. That was as bad of a start as we could really face and still just annihilated everything they were doing. So, yeah, I started talking about the strengths and failures of our deck, and then got kind of distracted once the game started. And so that game kind of displayed what I was talking to before we got too into the game in terms of our hand can just be kind of too expensive. And so you find these turns to where you have 3 spell mana banked up, you have 6 real mana, but you can only play 1 card. Or even worse, like we saw, where our game plan was to play the Honored Lord, and he got popped, and we just kind of got stuck for additional mana. And so that's why we typically really focus on keeping our curve as low as we can, because those spots can be pretty tough to get out of. And then otherwise, we need to just pick up some interactivity. And so I would still like to find like a back-to-back. I would like to find a removal spell. I would like to find something else to just like the middling kind of removal is what I talk about. So you have expensive removals like Vengeance. You have kind of middle removals like Black Spear. We don't have any of the middles either, and so I would kind of like to pick up single combat or something like that. But as we get the champion options here, I'm going to just go for the Garen. We don't have to like super focus on the champions, and actually if we got offered up Lucian, that's who I would come in and take. I figured we wouldn't see Lucians given that there was so much Challenger coming about, but we could, our champions aren't the super important piece here. And so this like Tiana, Vanguard, Sergeant are like the highest power one, but there's a couple of other things going on here. Garen flips into Judgment, which is just one of the most bonkers spells in the games. Always happy to pick these up. The Ardent Tracker can technically be a little bit cheaper if we draw it soon enough, and then we get another cheap play in the Penitent Squire. And so I do concede that the Vanguard, Sergeant, Tiana are the most powerful cards that we could pick up, but I think the Garen makes up a bit for that raw power in his flip. And then we get what is hopefully 2 cheaper cards. And then this is also a scout with Ardent Tracker. Can be a little bit important. If it's our opponent's attack token and we play a Cataclysm on a scout unit, then we get the attack token back and can make an additional attack. So some neat little combos that he's able to pull off. All right, cool. Jump into round 2. The old elites. They've been around since the dawn of Expedition. I will miss you. They aren't exactly constructed material these days. Maybe we'll try to play some elites in constructed. See if we can't find them some time to shine. All right. Not a bad start. The only downside here is the Penitent Squire doesn't see an elite until we play the Succession. So we're going to have to wait a bit to get her down. But I think that's okay, since we have the Succession. Still curving Succession into Badger Bears. Extremely strong, as we showed the opponent in the previous game. Let's see how much this guy living the pay-to-win life. I'm curious if it's just going to be the war chefs or if he's going to bring more to the table, so to speak. as the war chefs are out here making dinner references. Let's see what turns up. Okay, so how do we feel about this one? This board, sucks. There's no 2 ways around that. I think I'm fine just taking the single Badger Bear attack and playing it a little bit slow. So I think realistically what we're going to be doing here is building up to this for Demacia and just making a big attack there. The downside is we can't get Ardent Tracker down next turn. I think we're still good to just bank all this mana. We're going to have 10 mana on our next attack. No, we'll be a little bit short. Maybe we do try to make it 2 turns to get the Golden Aegis plus Brightsteel Protector attack. Here, I'm going to protect our 3/3 so the 3/4 can potentially get some decent blocks out here. It looks like that might have been good enough to just get him to completely pass. Okay, excellent. And yeah, this is one of these angles that you'll see you'll see frequently in scout decks and constructed, as to where we play both for Demacia and Golden Aegis on our opponent's turn and just get a big old boom and double attack in. I think this is where we want to go with this. Screeching Dragon's kind of meh, but he's gonna be able to get a decent open here. We can try to pull it off on our turn if that's what it comes down to, but
Suffer my fury.
okay. So is our board good enough to make that kind of play now? Probably not, with Shyvana being so big. I think we can still play it slow though, and just try and pop her with Captain Eureka next turn. So let's get the Swiftwing Lancer down. You gonna be good? I'll just take the Silverwing Vanguards because they're the elites. Get the double bird down. At this stage of the game, there's probably not too much reason to pick up a 1-cost unit. Here comes some shenanigans. He's gonna flip that Shyvana. Okay. We'll get there. It's unfortunate to get 2 for 1 and to see her flip, but I think we're still in a pretty powerful space. The only like real worrisome thing here is that he's able to kill Captain Eureka with the Challenger Dragon. Don't have any ways to take it down right now. Maybe we just give it a turn. Like, what if we play Vanguard Defender? Then next turn we play both Double Bird and 4 Demacia. See if we can't just get some really good challenges across the board. And then move for one of these. Captain Eureka plays a turn or 2 from now. So are we willing to trade? I think we are. I was gonna say, are we willing to trade the 4 Demacia for likely the dragon and the 2 dragon guards? I think that's fine. Might be coming at us with a single combat here, but I think we should still get a good hook into the Screeching Dragon. Oh, hang on. Those mathematics don't work. I was thinking of this in terms of single combat because that's what we were talking about, and I thought he was going to hit me for 2 attack and I could just prevent it with the Radiant. But this is just 3 damage from Noxus Blast. Whoops. Little whoopsies, but it's okay. I still feel pretty good about our plan. So the scary thing with this is if he has the Shyvana single combat in hand, kind of gives him a free way to pop our Captain Eureka shield. And so hopefully, since he only has 5 units on the board, he's going to add something to the board before he opens or before he attacks. If he gets to open, this is a little frightening. It's just like pretty easy for them at that point to have both, like the Shyvana single combat and have a like a concerted strike or something in hand. Yeah. Interesting. Very aggressive. Is that the overwhelm? Yeah. Yep. Oh, are we just dead? We are just dead. Damn. Oh, I guess we should have just taken the Eureka route. That was a big old boom from Shyvana. But that's the weakness of our deck at this point, right? We just don't have the interactivity outside of trying to throw challenges onto her. But here, I usually don't like trading out these Radiant Strikes, but I'm okay with just one, I think, and the Battlesmith is just so ultimately powerful. I'm happy enough to add him in. So let's go ahead and make that trade while we can, get the big core built around. Right, next battle. Doing much better today. Life is good. A finger, looking better. I did some hang cleans this morning and I could grip a bar. I've had this massive zit on my nose for like a week. It's starting to dissipate. Oh man, you youngsters out there thinking, man, I can't wait till I get older so I don't get zits. No, it still happens. just makes you feel young, you know. You're out here watching old as fuck FTP bust, saying, "Oh shit, he still gets them." Alrighty, let's see what happens in this one. Nice little start here, double succession. We can run with, or we can play a little bit slower and do Radiant Strike things. I don't think this is a space where we're doing Radiant Strike things. We'll probably just play the Succession on 2, Vanguard Sergeant on 3. Okay. You gonna boom us? Or what happens when he puts the tiny spear onto the Yordle Squire and takes down our Succession? Life is painful. And here, I mean, he seems to be fairly aggressive. He's playing Swain Yuumi, but I think we're fine to just trade with the small, or get the value block on the smaller one, and then we have a blocker for later. It's very tough for them to outstat us, so we'll see if we can't just hang out here for a bit, play some bros like Vanguard Sergeant, and just control the board. Could attack with the Vanguard, but seems like we're gonna win. He's now trade with the bird that he's about to make, the Hungry Owlcat, but we will get some opportunities to maybe play Fort Demacia here in a turn or two. So I'm leaning towards the Succession here. This lets us play Quinn next turn and still have 1 mana built up for the Radiant Strike. I could see an argument for playing like Vanguard Defender and trying to trade, but I think this is okay. Maybe the Defender would be the way to go. I don't quite approve of that kind of thing. I'm not really sure why he would sequence like this, but we're most certainly going to protect our unit here. We get to come in next turn with both Quinn and all of these attackers. Have to trade here though. We can't take this much damage. We'll start to fall too low. Still on the Quinn plan? I think it's okay. I mean, the other option would be to just play the Screeching Dragon, but we're gonna like pretty realistically flip this Quinn and do it pretty fast. So I think this is okay. Like if we get the good hook here, we can make regular attacks after this one. Then next turn we can rally and do some stuff. Might be able to get Quinn flipped pretty quick. Okay. Wow. That's pretty scary, just how aggressive he's being here. He's going to get absolutely boomed on this combat. Okay. Confront. I was somewhat interested in playing the Vanguard Defender, but I think the confront is where we'll be here. Let's protect one of our smaller units. This is a bit unfortunate, though, if he hits our Quinn. I think if we go into the next turn, we're probably just never dying anyways, and so we can let him have the value hook here to get some of our better cards up and running. I would ultimately just worry about, like, what if he has a weapon hilt here, right? And if he gets to weapon hilt down our Quinn, that's fairly abysmal. So let's go ahead and take this barrier attack. We can kind of like pivot and switch to using confront with Quinn. Don't need to now, depending on his units, since she's going to flip when she attacks, but I think this is okay. Comes Quinbird. No one escapes my aim. We're not done yet. All right. So this open with Quinn should end the game. Boomed him. Nice. Ooh, that was scary though. Seeing them play those ultra aggressive Noxus blasts, I was really worried that we were gonna see some kind of flurry of decimates or something, but not enough in the end. Let's see here. What do we have in terms of upgrades? I don't want to trade out our Radiant, or at least for an expensive card. If this was like a Radiant for another Battlesmith, I'd probably do it, but here it's not really advisable. Screeching Dragon is good, don't get me wrong, it just doesn't add anything to our deck that we need. I thought that was a pretty decent showing of a game as to the kind of power of Radiant Strike and being able to kind of easily shape your mana to where this is still ultra relevant, as to where this is something like Riposte. You find a lot of places where you can't have it. But here, not trading out the Succession for Cataclysm. This has been a pretty pivotal part of our early game. I could see an argument for switching the Defender for the Redeemer, but don't get me wrong, I do love me some card advantage. I just don't think it's ultra important at this stage. I think we have like a reasonable number of card advantage cards, and we haven't been running out of cards at the end of the games, and so I'll pick up a Redeemer if it's something expensive for something cheap. Like if you're going to say, hey, do you want to trade this Vanguard Cavalry for a Vanguard Redeemer? Then I would do it, but just not for our 2-drop here. So we'll skip over that one. Okay. Get a good stretch in before this one. I know it's going to be good. I mean, can you already see on the tracker before the game even starts the cards in your hand? I think I've noticed that in the past. Maybe it's just loading up weird. I saw the Radiant Confront Succession. There's just like multiple cards that are that are marked as zeros on here. That's very strange. Screeching Dragon's at 0 as well. I wonder if this tracker is just not very good at dealing with Expedition or illegal decks. But here, there is some argument to hang on to the Grand Plaza. The Pantheon style decks, we probably need to hang on to it just to have some interactivity, right? I think that's okay. We're on the odd or the even attacks, and so we can still play like the Plaza on 3, and then a couple of dudes on turn 4 maybe. Or maybe that same Succession play will bring itself out, where we play the Plaza and the Succession in the same turn. Interesting, he doesn't add the Saga Seeker until turn 2. Or if that was because he just drew it, which is the likely outcome, or if he's holding on to like Pale Cascade and wanted to try and get the card draw and the Faded all at the same time. And this is a very awkward hand. I think we can probably reasonably just take the 3. We'll just pass and see if he passes. It's not the end of the world if we go into next turn without having a Grand Plaza. Okay, he does have the Pale Cascade. Then, I mean, if we realistically feel like we have to, we could make a Golden Aegis play just to try and spend some of this mana, which I'm not completely opposed to. Like, if we need to try and hook down 2 units this turn, I think it might actually be okay. Like, if we start with a Vanguard Sergeant onto the Stomper, well, Opponent's being lame. Alright. This Saga Seeker is getting a little unwieldy out here. I was kind of tempted to just come in and like throw some damage on it, but I think we might be okay for the moment. We're going to have plenty of blockers to throw in front of it. It's when he starts playing Zenith Blades on it when it gets scary. The intent here is just to block with our 3-4. If we're wanting to throw a unit in front of Saga Seeker, then we should have played the Swiftwing Lancer just to be more dead onto him, if you will. But I'm okay here with blocking the Saga Seeker with the Vanguard Sergeant. We should only take 1 point of damage this way, and then he's really kind of disincentivized to attack into Garen, which looks like he's going to, but. I'm not risking a Pale Cascade blowing us up. Now we get to add 3 units to the board next turn, and hopefully that's enough to cause them some problems. As the Pale Cascade. Okay. Fall to 6. A little scary with these overwhelms out here, but might be alright. So the new question is, do we want to make like a Golden Aegis play this turn? I'm going to see how much like mana he spends, but I'm not opposed to, say, hooking the Saga Seeker with Quinn, and then we go to our normal combat, hook the Saga Seeker with Valor, probably still get to attack with Garen, and then after that attack, make a Golden Aegis hook onto Quinn. It's going to get us 3 attacks in this turn, and then ideally start with a rally next turn. I think it might be okay. It's going to kind of come down to how much mana this dude feels like spending this turn. So I think this... He's playing Targon only. They do have like the +1/+2s, which make this safe. The one he needs like a +2 attack trick to make this worrisome, or he needs 2 tricks to make this worrisome. I think both of those outcomes are okay. Like if he plays a what's his name, like the Tarek +3/+3 thing, I don't think that's horrible. Does nothing. Interesting. Such power in old Pantheon. He's got 2 mana built up. I think this is okay. If his card's Pale Cascade, he either has to decide to take down Quinn or lose his good unit, or just protect his good unit and let us keep Quinn. I think either of these outcomes are also okay. The classic do nothing, huh? Interesting, interesting. Okay, so this Garen attack should be safe. We could hook Pantheon if we were feeling particularly scared about it, but given that he hasn't played any combat tricks up to this point, I'm just going to assume he doesn't have any. There's no 1-mana tricks out of Targon anyways. He would have needed the Pale Cascade before he played the Saga Seeker. How close is Pantheon to flipping, though? That's kind of scary. Okay, he's at 3 of 5, so he's not going to flip next turn. Cool. Right, so now we get a rally. If he doesn't do anything and we get to open with Quinn, then the Quinn bird will hit Pantheon. It should be tough to pull off, but definitely a potential there. And if he doesn't open, we can look to, say, drop a barrier onto Quinn with the Bright Steel and maybe have something cool happen. The only thing that worries me here is him getting an overwhelm kill with Pantheon. That would be a little much. We just have to block. You know, it sucks to lose our good units here, but it sucks more to lose the game. And so got the brain on me up here. Let me drop that knowledge on you. So he's going to have a 1 health Pantheon. Got some things to say about that. Oh, we didn't even lose our Garen. Swiftwing Lancer is the most damage that we can boom on him. And so we'll see. We'll look to play the Brightsteel Protector as well. So the idea here is that we can just hook regardless of what he plays. Right, if he decides to play a unit here now, then we can still hook that new unit with the Brightsteel, and then if he plays a card like Shield Bash or whatever the Pantheon flip is, we have a new hook onto Pantheon. So, felt pretty good there. Felt pretty good. All right, and then picking up more Garens. Just want to get the full stack. There is, wow, maybe we do come down here and take this Jarvan with the Battlesmith reinforcements. These are the cards that we're lacking at this point. We already have 2 Vanguard Sergeants, am I right? And then the Swiftwing Lancer doesn't really add anything. We already have this massive pile of 5 drops. I do like the idea of adding Battlesmith reinforcements in. Let's stack Jarvan here. I dig it. All right. Next battle begins. Pretty good. Feeling decent about this one. As long as we aren't facing gigantic Shyvanas, then everything's okay. Oh man, is this guy Mono Shurima? It says Bandle City in here, but I think the I think the Sundisk is going to come out, right? Well, he probably had to pick the Ziggs and has rando Bandle City cards in his deck. Womp womp. Sorry, friend. I think we can go ahead and just make this trade. Like, our deck doesn't have any, we don't have any, what are you called? Vanguard Bannerman. There we go. To completely deal with everything being fully wide, and so I think that's okay. Like, that unit's just never going to grow. We could have held it into this turn and been like, oh, let's block his 3-2 or something, but I think this is all good. Can drop this, drop the Protege onto the Battlesmith, make him a big boy. It's somewhat tempting in that, you know, he might have to risk like a vulnerable hit or something, but I think he'll be safe enough. Sure. Just got a whole card for that. Conchologist Part 2. All right. You take your value in cards, we'll take our value in stats. Let's see who does better at the end of the day. Double bird with the Battlesmith down. Are you going to make it? I think that's where we want to go with the bird. It would be kind of nice to pick up like 1 spell mana for the next turn. So if we want to like drop the Quinn with the bonus, we can. But I think we'll just move away from Quinn. I don't think she's that big of a deal. All right, opponent says, "Oh shit, them stats is way better than them spells." Oh, see, here comes the Battlesmith death. Poor thing. Okay. So do we still feel the same way about the Silverwing Vanguard? I think it's fine. There's so many small units within this faction that there's a good chance that these can just take something down. And now if we're like adding in Quinn, we just have like 1 million attackers this turn. I think that's still where we want to go. Bring in the Quinn. Don't have to worry about the likes of a Spirit Fire. I think this is good. Say, oh yeah, my dude, I will be hooking all of your units. He can block Quinn if he wants, but we're going to blow up his unit with the Silverwing Vanguard. This feels fantastically strong for us. Sure. don't think these explosive minefields are bringing forth the amount of power the opponent was hoping for. Grand Plaza, somewhat interesting. It's also kind of interesting just to drop Jarvan here because he's gonna have the barrier, but I think we can throw a blocker in front of the safety inspector. We do have to worry about the rock bear coming down next turn. That's what looks a little frightening here. And so if we want to get a scout attack in next turn, are we ever able to do it? I don't think so. Not unless we play for Demacia, which I'm not really amped about. But it's like this kind of weird space to where if we play Jarvan, or if we play Cytherea this turn or whoever, these plays are all just like slightly awkward. What if we do this? What if we Tattered Banner onto the Vanguard Cavalry? This is where it's at, I think. What if we just take it? It's not like he's gonna burn us out. Now we can swing. We hook the Rock Bear with the Vanguard Cavalry, and then the Jarvan comes in and takes care of the 6/6. That's pretty good, right? Code violation. The safety inspector doesn't like this challenge coming in. Okay, that's fine. Still just have this pretty monstrous board now. This we do have to worry to a degree about the inspection pass just blasting us in the face. We're looking to take 6 from these things, right? I assume this is gonna go face now and then maybe again next turn, but shouldn't be too bad. He only has 1 card in hand. Sure. You fought valiantly, Quinn. Wasn't enough for a W at the end of the day, but you fought your hardest, and we appreciate that. So again, his attacks are terrible. If he wants to swing with the researchers, then we're just gonna flip the Jarvan. I always got to watch myself when I say I can't imagine how we lose a game, because then we always manage to do it. But this one's getting pretty close to that territory. Boomerang Blade. Oh snap, dude! That wasn't on my radar. Alright, Garen's ready to block, though. So how do we do now? Do we want to get the Cytherea on board, or do we want to go for Demacia? Demacia is what's going to be closest to just ending the game. We'll try and get the full board, and then Demacia. He can blow up something and stun something, which kind of sucks, but I think we're still good. Right, if this is the extent of his opening play as to inspection past, how does this even go? Inspection past kills our Vanguard Cavalry, stuns our Garen. We add in the Vanguard Redeemer, get to draw the card now because he killed something. And then we have 4 units getting +3/+3. So we're not going to be able to lethal him, but we should be acing his whole board here. Hydrate before the attacks come in. Sure. Alright, so no reason to attack with the Penitent Squire at this point. He just block it with the Safety Inspector. But, again, we're going to come in and just boom his whole board. Still have tons of power behind. Kind of 3 1/4 cards in our hand to his 0. Looking good.
now and forever.
Boomed him. So cool. Victory is ours. So what you got for us, game? Trading out for Demacia is fantastic. Absolutely glad to do that. Penitent Squire is one of those big ads that we're looking to make, and so yeah, pretty good. I mean, we haven't seen any Vanguard Bannermen, but outside of that, we have the pair of battlesmiths and then the reinforcements. So, right, we take the reinforcements. Am I losing my mind here? Thought we took that Jarvan pack. I don't know. This deck tracker is just not really. It's not really cut out for expedition, I don't think, but it's okay. It's only got to make it a couple more weeks. What is this? Zednar, but also has Vandal City. Okay. We passed on a confront here. It's kind of a tough one to keep. It's like when we start with the Battlesmith, I want to get as much elites as I can. So it feels like a pretty safe one to toss away. All right, let's build up that big board.
It's dangerous out there. Take this.
And then I'm curious here, like, should we just open? I think we just open. It's like, say he plays a 3/3, then we might get in for the same amount of damage with this Vanguard Sergeant once it comes down. But it's like such a brutal spot for him to just like not have any units at this point that we'll just like win the game if he doesn't. What? Ice Shard Pokestick. Okay. So we are going to lose out on a stat point. That's still pretty positive turn for us. He doesn't get to add anything to the board. Battlesmith Part 2 comes up. I guess the sad thing there is if he plays Gnar here, then we can't. We would have been able to like block Gnar with a 4/5 Vanguard Sergeant, but lose one card in hand. The kind of like makes me worry about his next play being a Zed. And so let's only spend like the 2 mana here so we can Bright Steel Protector if he's going to drop Zed on us. He only has 1 mana, so he shouldn't be able to Pokestick us, but... Oh. Now if he attacks with both, we lose one of our units. I think it's okay, but... There wasn't a ton of reason to hit the Redeemer. Probably should just hit the Squire. Alright, we'll drop the Quinn. We could have gotten down anything to come in and hook the Zed, but I would like to give Garen the Umbrella if we can, and then on our next attack token we'll have this Challenger Garen boosted by the Battlesmith, and then we can kind of get Jarvan down with the open attack. Oh, he returns Quinn. Wow. I wasn't even really that interested in the Quinn. I was interested in the Valor attack, but I'm more than happy to how all this is going. We spent 2 mana and 5 cards just to take our Quinn off the board. Absolutely. And then it's like he opens with Zed. It's like, who cares? We'll lose a Penitent Squire and take 4. I'll tell you now, that's not a big deal. We'll still play the Umbrella because he can follow up with units here, but it's nice to be in this space to where we open and then the opener just like is ready to blast Zed. But I think we're all good here. Oh, the champions. Well. Nar, you're about to go toe to toe with the Jarvan.
I've got just the thing for you.
He says, "Oh, nose." Ooh. Battle Fury. Oh my dude. I like it from a fun perspective, from a game-winning standpoint. That's a little frightening. This 14 attack Gnar. At least the challenger's on our Jarvan, so that should only clock in for 8 damage. Jeez. Wasn't expecting the Battle Fury. Okay. So we have 8 mana. I want to get a full board here. Like, most certainly want to just have a completely wide board. I think we don't have to do it with the Vanguard, the Silverwing Vanguard. We can say, like, play Umbrella and then the Sergeant and the Protege. I think that's how we want to go about it. Then we can do a 4 Demacia next turn. Might just open. It's like I just don't want to leave ourselves in this space to where our attack gets shut down by a harsh winds, and so it's like we swing with all the units, and he somewhat easily has answers to. But between having things like harsh winds and frostbites and shit, just to shut down our attack. Does the Umbrella go here? Or the Protege? I don't think so. Let's put it on our 3-3. If we're just going to end up hooking Gnar with the Vanguard Sergeant, there's no reason to put the tough thing on him. Man, that Gnar's huge. How did it get back up to 8 health? Wasn't it at 2? Was it that dumb shit to... Why didn't he... Like, he had 2 health, right? Oh, fully heal it and grant it 1-1. There's additional text on this guy we just never bothered to read. Gotcha. I thought it was something weird with Gnar flipping and getting his base health back plus the Battle Fury and then the +1/+1 for the transform. Okay, that makes way more sense. Fucking feel the rush. Are you serious? Oh my god. We still just lethal through this, right? He's tapped out. Jesus.
I don't make them for the show.
Can I try? We strike.
Protect the faithful.
Okay. Whew. Gotta get a little worried when the Feel the Rush comes. You never... you just assume the game is done and the game is lost whenever that comes down. Alright. Victory is ours.
Raise our banners. Demacia prevails.
So what do we got here? I'm okay with trading away Relentless Pursuit. I really only want 1 copy of it. Not trading out the Radiant, and I don't think we need the Badger Bear. But, like, at this point, we do only have 8 spells in our deck, and then 2 of them are Succession. 1 of them is Reinforcements. So it's like we really only have 5 cards in our deck that aren't units. And so I'll hang on to the Pursuit. We should be, like, pretty good in terms of... not just like overdrawing spells, right? The big concern with having too many spells is you have these weird hands to where you need to just play any unit or any dude, and you can't do it. And you tend to run into that a lot when you're playing like Scouts and Constructed, as to where you pick up like too many of the rally cards, but you don't have any dudes on the board. I think we'll be okay to get ourselves away from that. Is that Tom Kench? Yumi, Tom Kench, Soraka? Okay. Pretty big elites draw. We'll have to see how we navigate having reinforcements here. But I don't think we need to drop Succession. Now that we have the Radiant Strike, shouldn't be necessary. I'll actually take this thing down if he blocks. Oh, we're gonna boom him so hard. Uh-oh. Nice. All right. Now we're back to this space to where, like, we can play the Swiftwing Flight. It's always just the same choices every time, isn't it? But now if he plays a unit, we can probably just come in and hook it. He's going to have a heal, or this will just die going into his next turn. Sure. And then if he's playing heals, that's just less mana than he has to work with. So tougher for him to play units at this point. It's not as common for like Bilgewater Bandles or Bilgewater and Targon, but they can have cards like Double Trouble.
The finest Demosian steel.
Demosian steel protects me. No regrets.
All right. Well, we have to lose a unit before we play reinforcements, but we're about to have a ton of big bros after this.
Through the darkness, I
Oh.
see something new.
Nice.
We march.
I thought he was just going to shrink up one of our reinforcements, but hells yeah.
Take
Come out from your shadows, demon.
not again.
And then this is the space where we're just going to start to look to get wide, right? I would like to play like for Demacia and the Double Bird. Where are we at? We'll have 8 mana next turn. We need to bank 2. So we can play Cytherea, have a 2 bank, and then next turn we can play Double Bird and for Demacia. That should be enough to do it. I mean, there's a good chance he just can't block our stuff. I mean, you can always block Cytherea, but
Top of the bounty board today.
sure.
Listen and learn.
It's going to get like a lifesteal? Or is he going to double stun our Cytherea? Oh, lifesteal. Okay. Makes sense. Here comes the... Says, oh shit, Bust, you about to boom me, aren't you? So do we ever get in this space to where we can just lethal them? I think we're a little short, but these attacks are all still quite good this way, right? We hook the 2 elusive slash fearsome blockers to the right. He puts something in front of Cytherea, takes, it looks like 20. 23 now. Get him to that juicy neg 7. Ah, he's found a blocker.
Are you the one?
Sure. Well, as long as we can avoid some more of those Battle Fury shenanigans, I think we'll be okay here. We have 6 units on board to his 0. Uh-oh. Sparklefly shenanigans. Here comes the Yuumi. Oh my gosh, he's gonna get big. It is. I don't think it's anything to worry about here. We could have like overwritten some stuff and put like a confront onto Garen to hook the thing, but it's not too much that should be beating us there. It's just a little unfortunate to get in that space to where if something goes completely wrong in that combat, like they have 2 star shapings or something, and then they get to go into the next turn and play a giant elusive celestial for the win or something. But here, I would like to pick up the Honored Lords, but we need some interactivity. I'm going to trade out the Protege for the back-to-back just to make sure that we have something. What a 10 mana Cythria. But here, we get an Honored Lord back. That's a fair trade, getting rid of the Vanguard Squire. Onto these, Cythria number 2 is interesting. Again, like, how many 2-drops do we have? The 3 umbrellas, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 twos. Sort of 9 with successions. I think we can do without the second Cythria. Like, I'm not opposed to picking one up, but I don't think she's necessary here where the 2-drop is. I will trade out this Vanguard Cavalry for the Riposte, though. Get our spell count in order. Redeemer for Gallant Rider is pretty good. We do have the 3 Penitent Squires. Otherwise, not taking the On Guard, and I want to hang on to the Defender. What do we got at the 4 space? Swiftwing Flight and the Silverwing Vanguard. A lot of challengers already. I think I'll just skip over this one. Relentless Pursuit. I do like to trade these Relentless Pursuits away. So Vanguard Sergeant's just like way too powerful, right? You see how we just win every game with Fort Demacia. The last one, we'll skip over this. I want to hang on to the Badger Bears. Don't need Screeching Dragons, and reinforcements is what we're all about. So cool. Cool. All right, and we get the actual opponent. It's been no Porobots since the announcement that expeditions were ending. Everybody's out there spending them tokens and having a good time and stuff. All right, let's keep the Squire. And so they could see an argument for getting rid of the Redeemer, but I wanted to make sure that we had an elite for our turn 1 Squire here. All right, and that's a bank. Now we can drop the Honored Lord. Dude's forgetting to play his dragons. you gotta put something on the board. You missed all those dragon videos, all Bus telling him how to draft all the 2-drops. It's tough for this to go poorly, right? We either just like ace his unit and get super far ahead, or he has like a prismatic barrier and doesn't like advance his board. So I feel like we're pretty good here. Gonna ignore the Shyvana. I'll play the Landmark. There is a world where he just doesn't attack with the Shyvana, because he is starting to fall fairly far behind here, but this isn't too scary. Not going into the next turn, we can get 2 big boys on board with the Plaza. Had to stop and do the math once we drew the 2-drop. I wasn't quite sure if we could actually play 3 units. I know math can be a little tough for people, especially people such as myself. So this is like a little worrisome. He could have a like a Riposte here, which would be unfortunate, but like the way this sequenced out, I feel like his hand is just super expensive. We should have done these the other way. This is too bad. Like, he's going to get the good strike here anyways, but if we flipped his units around, say he did have the Riposte, then we would at least get to kill his unit before... get to kill his Ruined Dragon Guard before the Shyvana hits with the Fury. It's like he's thinking about that pass. I don't think he's going to take it.
No honor in this.
All right, now we're starting to fall behind. that concerted strike was pretty painful.
Our ancestors are watching.
Oh, Battlesmith. Perfect. It's like we have to keep like some spell mana banked. We'd like to play Fort Demacia this turn, but then it's like we also have to have units to add to the board so that we can use our Grand Plaza. But with just 3 mana, it doesn't really seem like Fort Demacia is worth it. We can add the Swiftwing Flight and then take double bird. Oh, we can't double bird here. Do we just play 3 units? Okay, well, we'll probably still play Swiftwing Flight. And then just, like, not play the cards off of it, I think. I think that's where we're at. So we'll still take Double Bird. And we'll play the Defender and the Succession. We can't take down the Shyvana, but we can take down the Cadrigen and chunk in a bunch of damage.
Beasts of glory. Ready for deployment.
This gives our challengers bonus attack, right? I gotta stop and read these cards real good. Give other challenging allies 1/1 this round. This is gonna just be another concerted strike, right? That's why he's holding back on that 5 mana.
That'll make 'em for the shelf. Attack formation.
I'll turn the tide.
For the fallen.
Interesting. All right. So as long as we can get through next turn without dying, then we should be okay. I think we can get pretty wide here, and then if he doesn't open on us, this is probably a place to play for Demacia. Back to back might change that. Don't think we can wait until next turn for the back to back. Oof. But, I mean, if he had Concerted Strike, I feel like he would have just slammed it off, right? That would make some sense. I don't know. That doesn't seem like he would have gone through the last turn with 5 mana and then just not played Concerted Strike. I mean, he did follow up with the Dragon, I guess, but kind of strange. Okay. Excellent.
Everywhere I go.
Lux. Alright, wasn't expecting Lux to turn up. So now we're kind of like back to this space to where you can make like the 4 Demacia Golden Aegis play, but I think we just have to try and ace his team this turn. And at least the important parts of it. So it's like if we play 4 Demacia, he's going to have to like come out and block some of this stuff or he just dies, right? The only unit that he can get away from is the Battlesmith. Okay. So we definitely just have to 4 Demacia now. So we'll come in and hook the Lux with our 7/5. He's got to block the Redeemer with something. Okay, and then he'll play the final Spark onto the bird. Look at all those summons. you get the summons on the bird when it comes back from the capture.
My heart and sword.
All right. Let's see if you can do it, Garen. Tiana. Oh, shit. She's a little scary. A little scary number here in Tiana. Is this how we want to do it? Like, is there a world where we want to just hook this Tiana to put the damage on her so that we can play like a Badger Bear and another unit next turn and then just hook her down? I don't think so. There's a realistic chance that we can get a challenge kill next turn. Or just draw Captain Erika. Nice.
Perseverance will lead to triumph.
Nice time to just show up, girl.
Our sun will not set today.
All right. Nice. There it is. Nice little 7 winner. I can't remember the last time we got a 7 winner. It's been like months, perhaps even years since we've been able to score a 7-win victory. But we were able to do it with the elites. Not a bad run while we were at it. And so yeah, I felt like that was fairly standard in terms of the elites drafts. It'll probably be the last one we ever do. And so soak it all in. Go back and watch it, replay it, whatever you need to do to have fond memories of the elites. But if you are out there drafting some of them on your own, again, the big things to look out for, you want to find the unit boosters. That's the Battlesmith, Vanguard Bannerman, which we didn't see in reinforcements. You're looking for the early game interactive package, and so you're trying to find Penitent Squire, Honored Lord. That's the kind of like big combo piece number 1. Battlesmith kind of fits in there as well if you can manage to find him. And then also the likes of the 2 and the 3 drops. And so the 2/2 with tough for 2, the things like Vanguard Sergeant, Vanguard Redeemer, just the stuff that you just can drop in the early game so you don't get overwhelmed. Because the big problems you run into is there's a lot of tempting late game. You tend to get stuck with a lot of it. You could definitely see, even with our first 2 picks here, is where I think we had 5 drops from the first 6 cards in our deck. And so you can very easily run into these spaces to where even if you manage to not run into the disasters to where you don't have a unit in the first few turns of the game, you can still run into kind of like a secondary disaster where it's turn 5 and you have 2 4-drops, a 5-drop, and a 6-drop in your hand, and you can't catch up on board because you can only play 1 card per turn. And so that's what you're looking to dodge. The second thing there is all of the 5 and the 6 drops. They aren't exactly the same. It's not quite like playing dragons, but there's not enough difference between Garen and Challenger Dragon and Heavy Infantry and Jarvan and all these things to really warrant going out of your way to pick up any of them. And so I typically recommend just drafting Lucians if you can, or if you're stuck in another faction and you're not with Vanguard Bannerman, you might be able to pick up a cheaper champion in a different faction. But if you're stacked in all the challengers like you can be with these, then maybe you would perhaps like to stack a Lulu or stack a Shen or something, whatever. But that's it. The top end is all fairly similar. And so at the end of all that, just try and pick up some removal. That was where we were really lacking here today. We went out of our way for that what's her name? The girl that just saved us right at the end. Captain Erika. There we go. We went out of our way for that Captain Erika. I don't think we saw a single concerted strike, didn't see a single detain. We were just stuck with confronts. We didn't even have the single combats for this trial. And so got to try and find some removal. If you're going to pick up the interactivity in the form of combat tricks, you want to go cheap as opposed to expensive. I know we got really excited for that back-to-back there at the end, but you're really looking for Radiant Strike because your units are typically big enough as it is, but you just want that way to get an extra +1/+1 to push your single unit over the top. So pretty fun stuff. Good run. Looks like we do have a handful of rewards to come out here and click on. So let's see what we get. The reward road. I haven't got to see the roadmap. Speaking of roads, I haven't gotten to see the roadmap yet. I think it should be out by now. I don't know. I haven't been following the Twitterverse today, but I think the roadmap is out there. I'm sure it's been posted, and then just people being apeshit pissed off about everything. Whatever one thing you want in life in terms of Runeterra, you're probably not getting on the roadmap. It's a roadmap of things that no one wanted is what everyone on Reddit and Twitter will be bitching about. As they're already taking away expeditions, I'm sure they'll announce the removal of something else that'll piss everybody off. They'll announce some champion that no one wants to see. And it is just going to be the worst day in every Runeterra player's life as they read that roadmap. But we'll end up making a video tomorrow. We'll talk about the roadmap a bit as it's come out. So you'll get my hot take on the roadmap a couple days from now. But cool, getting our way through. We've been playing enough to get the bonus capsules now. That always feels kind of nice. Just shards on top of shards. And then let's see what we get here the rest of the way. Extra copies of just everything. It's so weird playing constructed now. And it's like I have to go and like create and craft some cards and then kind of miss out on these. Like historically, like if you followed Hearthstone and Creparian as to where he wouldn't craft anything because that's the actual just most efficient way to do it. And then it was he built up to having a million dust or where you can shard away your extras for the dust. The epic moment where he crashed the system and didn't get any extra sparklies. It was kind of humorous. It was strange in terms of Blizzard. They like had to have known what was going to happen when you tried to craft a million dust at once. And it's like I thought it would have been nice if they did like a little meme, made a little picture turn up just for that one moment whenever he did it, or put something in the code when you craft a million dust at once and something pops up on the screen. So it would have been kind of like memorializing the moment as it happened. But of course, small indie company can't pull something like that off. But nonetheless, that is going to do it for us today. Hope everyone enjoyed the trial. Your next expedition will be a little bit more elite based on what you learned here today. Maybe had a good time watching and learned a thing or two along the way. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.